From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
One part of President Donald Trump's immigration reforms that often gets overlooked is the creation of VOICE, the Victims of Immigration Crime Enforcement Office. Critics say the office unfairly stereotypes all immigrants, but supporters say crime victims need the assistance the office is set up to provide. One of those supporters is an Arizona mom who was back in Washington this week to continue her fight for victim assistance. Cronkite News reporter Alex Valdez has more on that story in our Washington bureau.
Mesa resident Marianne Mendoza lost her son, Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, in 2014 when an undocumented immigrant slammed into his car head-on. Since then, she has made it her mission to fight back against illegal immigration, a fight that brought her to Washington this week.
Never envisioned that that's where I would end up when I started this fight for my son's, memory and his loss. And
Mendoza was in Washington for the official launch of Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime. She co-founded the group with the goal to promote American safety and security.
We are victims who have created an organization that victims of illegal crime, no matter what it is, whether it's a murder or a rape, identity theft, assault, any of these crimes, we want the people to come out of the shadows.
She hopes the correlation can serve as a resource to victims of any immigration-related crime. Or, as she describes it, the organization wants to be truth tellers, truth seekers, and educators of the public.
We want to be a support system for these victims to try and help to direct them in the right places to get the help that they need. We do have an attorney on board who will help give them legal advice.
Mendoza, who has been advocating on behalf of victims' families since her son's death, now hopes to see the group carry on that mission, working with politicians to see immigration laws enforced. Mendoza had that message in mind today when she and a group of advocates met with President Trump at the White House.
We are going to make sure that the president does follow up on his promises and get the border wall built. We do want to work with Congress to make sure that they stop roadblocking our president, allowing him to move forward with national security. I talked to Mendoza shortly after her meeting with President Trump this afternoon. She told me the meeting went very well and that she and other advocates got their message across to the president. Live in Washington, Alex Valdez, Cronkite News.
New information tonight into the number of opioid overdoses in our state. As Tyler Paley reports, this is the first time the state health department is releasing these weekly numbers.
Governor Doug Ducey issued the executive order requiring medical professionals to report opioid overdoses just over a week ago. The state health department released the numbers this morning. There were 191 suspected opioid overdoses in Arizona in just 1 week, and 15 of those were fatal. The report also shows 18 cases of newborns showing withdrawal symptoms. Emergency responders tried to prevent 102 overdoses by administering doses of naloxone. The state says it's working to train more than 700 first responders on how to use naloxone. Tyler Paley, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is dedicated to covering the opioid crisis in Arizona and nationwide. Our documentary Hooked RX, From Prescription to Addiction, highlights the problem of painkillers here in our state. You can watch the documentary and find resources for getting help online at hookedrx.org.
Phoenix City Council is taking the next step in changing controversial street names in the city. The council voted 6-3 to amend its renaming policy. This would allow them to change, quote, offensive or derogatory names without the support of at least 75% of property owners in the affected areas. Mayor Greg Stanton pushed for the change as he tries to rename 2 streets, Squaw Peak Drive and Robert E. Lee Street. Community members testified in support of the change.
That is disrespectful. That is derogatory, and it has no place in the great city of Phoenix in 2017.
Regardless of your own race, I think we can all be offended by, names like the name Peak or the Confederacy and the preservation of slavery.
No community members testified against the change, but a homeowner on Squaw Peak Drive submitted a letter in favor of keeping the name, saying no matter the length of time as homeowners on Squaw Peak Drive, the street name is part of our history also, and it is our purpose to now be a part of the city's history. Council members were careful in voicing concern for the policy change. While they do believe these two street names are offensive, they worry about making decisions without citizen input.
I cannot support being all-inclusive by excluding the citizens that are most impacted by taking away that right.
The only part that I find problematic with this entire policy, it is just cramming it down people's throats without talking to them first.
Under the new policy, the council will first have to agree on pursuing a name change, then notify affected homeowners, and hold at least 2 community meetings before voting on a new name or rejecting the change altogether.
And a state-by-state report on safety gives Arizona an F in most categories. Cronkite News Washington reporter Emma Lockhart tells us why our state received a failing grade.
But in every state of the nation, people are dying from things that we can prevent, and we call them accidents.
The National Safety Council put out a new report on state safety at a press conference today. The results show that Arizona is not doing enough to protect residents. The state received an F grade overall and was one of the bottom 5 states for road safety.
Arizona received an F on the road safety section, largely because they're not doing a great job protecting child passengers. And so this is for children under 2, making sure that kids are in booster seats. And when it comes to teen drivers, they can do more.
Distracted driving is also a leading factor in roadway accidents, a point brought home by Thomas Geltz from Minnesota, who spoke about his daughter, Megan.
Megan Geltz was killed by a distracted driver. She was pregnant at the time, and my unborn grandson also passed away.
Distracted driving is just one of the factors contributing to a 14% increase in roadway deaths since 2013, according to the report. Among other categories, Arizona also fell short for home and community safety, incidents such as gun accidents and drug-related deaths. Hersman says in order for the state to progress, it must take note.
So I'd say the opportunity for Arizona is to learn from its neighbors and learn from other states across the nation.
Through education and stricter regulation in all the safety categories, Hersman hopes these preventable deaths can be avoided. In Washington, Emma Lockhart, Cronkite News.
And for more information on how Arizona was ranked, visit nsc.org/state of safety or a state-by-state breakdown.
Safety on the road is a big concern in Arizona. Every year, roads are shut down in the state as dust storms roll through, cutting visibility. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Finger is in our broadcast center with how the Arizona Department of Transportation is hoping to revolutionize dust detection. Tyler?
Emily, it's been an ongoing project for ADOT as they try to figure out the best way to handle dust storms. But by 2019, a detection system will be in place on a part of I-10 between Phoenix and Tucson that should give ADOT and the Department of Public Safety the early warning they need to save lives.
We were traveling through the dust area.
Even for an experienced DPS trooper, this can be dangerous.
I'm down to about 15 miles an hour. I can barely see.
In an instant, visibility can drop to 0. A dust storm is to blame for a crash along the Arizona-New Mexico border earlier this month, a 25-car pileup that killed 6.
Dust storms happen quickly without very much warning. Sometimes we can anticipate them, but a lot of the times we can't.
That's a problem ADOT has been trying to fix. By the end of the year, installation on a first-of-its-kind dust detection system will start.
It's a very coordinated system that we'll be using along with DPS and with the National Weather Service so that we can get information to drivers so that they can make the right decisions and be safe on the roadway.
Here's how it works. A combination of cameras and sensors will monitor the road and the desert on either side of it. If something is spotted, overhead monitors will warn drivers, and speed limits will be lowered in the area. At that point, ADOT's Traffic Operations Center in Phoenix will be monitoring the situation.
The operators that you see behind me will be notified right away. They can then look at our cameras in that area, see what the situation is, and if they need to make adjustments, they can do that.
While it's still a few years away from going into operation, DPS is hopeful the technology will help.
ADOT will be able to receive information from their sensors, they'll be able to send us that information right away, and we will be able to deploy a trooper right away. And so the quicker we can get there, obviously, the better it is.
As of now, the system will be installed over the next 2 years on a 10-mile stretch of I-10 between the Eloy area and Picacho Peak. If it goes well, it could be expanded to other problem areas in the state. In the broadcast center, Tyler Finger, Cronkite News.
And last week we introduced you to Socorro Carvajal, a 76-year-old woman on a fixed income. Her central air conditioning broke down right as temperatures reached almost 120 degrees. She was hoping for help from a local nonprofit group, but today a viewer who watched the story stepped up to help.
That's just the end of the life of the compressor.
So it has to have a new compressor?
Yeah.
And that is how we last left Socorro Carvajal, in need of a new compressor and an estimate of more than $2,000 for air conditioning repairs. But today, things changed. Hi, is this Dave?
I told the gentleman that's standing there next to you that I will pay $1,000 toward fixing your air conditioner.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad that I'm able to help you, and I hope they get your air conditioner going today and that you're going to be comfortable.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My dearest thank yous.
Miss Socorro, how does that make you feel?
I feel like crying, but I'm holding it there.
You just enjoy your day, and I'm very grateful that I'm able to help you.
But there is more. The owner of the company making the repairs also wanted to help.
So all the work today will be pro bono at no charge to you.
Oh my God.
Gentlemen, explain to me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Gentlemen, explain to me a little bit your situation today. We decided to step up and do the right thing.
And finally, what really mattered.
I didn't think they were going to do it this fast either.
Huh?
Oh my God, yes. It's really coming through.
How does that feel?
Oh, great. Oh, thank God.
And after a heavy discount from a local contractor and the help of our viewers, Socorro Carvajal had only $450 out of pocket, which will get her through the summer.
Today will be the 11th day in a row with temperatures above 110 degrees. And while you or I may complain about walking to our cars, there is a crew out there who are often working in the heat in much worse conditions.
Make sure we hydrate it before we get to the shift, drink water through the shift.
While keeping hydrated might seem obvious, it's not always possible for this group. Prior to becoming captain at Station 30, Buddy DeCosmo worked at Station 12, which serves our Valley Mountains.
Not very uncommon to have 2 or 3 rescues in one day where we're hiking either Camelback Mountain, Squaw Peak.
And in the summer months, they could have multiple trucks on these calls.
So you'll have anywhere from 12 to 20 guys trying to rescue one person.
A reminder that when we take chances in the heat,
there's been multiple times that firefighters got injured making a mountain rescue.
We are putting others at risk also.
Your adrenaline starts to get pumping.
At up to 70 pounds, these turnouts are built to keep the heat out, but as a result, their bodies aren't able to cool down.
Get to the fire, and then it becomes a lot of physical work. We're pulling hoses, forcing entry, so we're working pretty hard. Then you're inside where the temperatures could be up to 1,200 degrees, and we're fighting fire, and yeah, it's pretty taxing on you.
To help handle these conditions, they have a rehabilitation truck that runs through the summer months.
They're dispatched out on any house fire, some of the mountain rescues. Basically, they're stocked with everything we need to hydrate with, water, Gatorade. They have cooling fans.
To rehydrate and cool firefighters while in between rotations. But fires and mountain rescues aren't the only challenges these firefighters face.
Somebody on the street, might have underestimated the temperatures, trying to walk from the house to the grocery store. They're not drinking any water. Next thing you know, they're dizzy. Just be safe out there. We love to serve the public, but try to take care of yourself so you don't have to see us.
While at the mountain this morning, I actually ran into a couple of firefighters who are there training on their day off. It's a commitment for the men and women in this profession, especially at this time of year.
Governor Doug Ducey issued a state of emergency today as a northern Arizona wildfire continues to grow. In a statement, Ducey said, quote, "Not only do our hearts go out to those who have been displaced, but our attention and resources are focused heavily on containing the fire and protecting property and lives," end quote. Ducey said he's working closely with the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. The Department of Health Services will be helping local aid officials with evacuation shelters and health needs. Evacuations are in place for Mayer, Pine Flats, Breezy Pines, and Dewey. And State Route 69 is closed between I-17 and State Route 169. More than 1,000 fire personnel have been assigned for both ground and air support. The Goodwin fire quadrupled overnight. As of this morning, it had burned 20,000 acres near the site where the Yarnell Hill fire killed 19 firefighters 4 years ago.
While the cause of that fire is still under investigation, the Phoenix Fire Department is warning that fires like that could be started over the Independence Day holiday because of fireworks. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Finger was at the Fire Academy in Phoenix today as they demonstrated the dangers of fireworks.
4th of July is known for hamburgers, hot dogs, and of course fireworks. But as they do every year, the Phoenix Fire Department is urging people tonight not to use them. This is what firefighters are worried about. Fireworks, both legal and illegal, hurting someone.
Just because these fireworks are legal doesn't mean they're not dangerous. They can still burn you. That's why we suggest don't use them at all.
More than half of the people hurt from fireworks got burned. For the Arizona Burn Center, it's predictable.
This is a tough time of year for us in the Burn Center because we see people with injuries from fireworks. People out having a good time, trying to enjoy the holidays, celebrating the 4th of July, and then something bad happens.
But injuries aren't the only concern. In our hot, dry landscape, firefighters are worried about the fire danger.
If you have a sparkler and you drop it in some dry brush, it can quickly set that brush on fire. So imagine if you have a large backyard with a lot of dead brush, you light it, it can easily get to your house, start your house on fire.
Because of those risks, the Phoenix Fire Department is hoping you leave it to the experts.
We have a ton of great fireworks shows done by professionals throughout the valley. Grab a lawn chair, grab a blanket, go out to one of these great shows, and enjoy yourself and be safe.
If you do want to set off your own fireworks, the Phoenix Fire Department has a simple tip to remember. If it flies or explodes, it's probably illegal. However, things like sparklers and smoke bombs are fine. Just keep in mind you have to do it before July 7th because if it's after that, it's illegal to set them off.
The city of Phoenix has formally adopted a budget that calls for the hiring of more than 250 new police officers. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bernstein looked further into the hiring plan and what it means for the communities it serves.
Sergeant Vince Lewis says the hiring goal regarding diversity in the Phoenix Police Department is to mirror the community it serves. According to these stats provided by Operations Lieutenant Anthony Lopez, of the nearly 3,000 current sworn officers as of June 16, 2017, 2,070 are white, 114 are African American, 509 are Hispanic, 74 are Asian, 20 are Native American, and 366 are female. Maribel Silva's father was a police officer in Mexico, which in part inspired her to apply to join the Phoenix Police Department. Now as an applicant and potential recruit, she hopes to show that cops have a good side.
You know, like, oh, they do something bad and then you see it like right away, you know.
Silva is here at the police academy going through the agility training with other applicants, though Silva already officially completed her agility test. Phoenix's new budget calls for hiring more than 250 police officers during the 2017-18 fiscal year. The goal is to have 3,125 officers by June of 2018. Jeff Barton, the city's budget and research director, says the number of officers is down because Phoenix stopped hiring during the recession from 2008 to 2015.
So as a result of the Great Recession, we had to actually reduce the number of officers that we had because the resources to pay for them weren't there.
Barton says now that the economy is recovering, they have the ability to start hiring again. Silva says she thinks the current amount of officers is low and encourages others to join the police force.
One cop versus, you know, X amount of citizens. So, yeah, I mean, the more people I feel, the better.
Lopez also provided these stats, which show the demographics of recruits and laterals hired as of June 19, 2017. Out of 622 recruits and hires, 404 are white, 34 are African American, 167 are Hispanic, 8 are Asian, 9 are Native American, and 113 are women. For information on how to apply, visit phoenix.gov/police. Holly Bernstein, Cronkite News.
Many people go to shelters to rescue animals, but now they can participate in a hands-on learning experience. Last week, the Arizona Humane Society held a Victory Vets Camp for teens, and Cronkite News reporter Madison Connor was there to get a glimpse of the veterinary field.
Victory Vets is a week-long career discovery program for teenagers from 13 to 17. The camp is more than just fun and games. Participants learn exactly what it takes to succeed in the animal world.
They start with learning about veterinary medicine, how to get into the field, what that truly entails, and then interacting in some age-appropriate activities. So we do a little bit of suturing, we watch live surgeries, we make all types of different anatomy models for them to get kind of that hands-on interaction with every different aspect of animal science.
Participants also get the chance to dissect organs, to learn about animal anatomy, and how to properly handle pets. The main goal of the camp is to inspire the campers to continue learning and strengthen those science skills.
We want to inspire kids within our own community, especially here locally around the shelter, to pursue these opportunities. And being that they are STEM-based, they also serve as a supplementary source for anything they might already be learning in school.
As well as getting hands-on STEM education through veterinary medicine, they also get plenty of time with the animals in the shelter. While some kids attend just for the animal interaction, one participant is already planning her future as a vet, thanks to attending the camp last year and returning again for this session.
Leaning more towards either what they do here, which is just like a spay-neuter clinic and on occasion a special surgery, or equine medicine.
Between surgeries, dissections, and properly handling pets, these kids are putting their knowledge to the test this summer. In Phoenix, I'm Madison Connor, Cronkite News. In 2020, the NCAA Golf Championships will begin a 3-year run at Greyhawk Golf Course in Scottsdale. And as Cronkite News reporter Greg McAfee explains, ASU hopes they never leave.
Arizona State will team up with Greyhawk Golf Club to become the first venue to host the event for 3 straight years. But the school is planning for the future beyond 2022.
You know, our ultimate goal long term is not just to host it for 3 years. We want to become what Omaha is for baseball, where we make this Greyhawk, Scottsdale, Phoenix, the Valley, the home of collegiate golf championships forever.
This will be the 68th year that Omaha, Nebraska has hosted the College World Series. To approach that longevity, Harris said ASU and Greyhawk will have to put on successful events with enough support from the community to keep the championships here in Arizona. Greg Trias, president and owner of Greyhawk Development, believes the club's success in hosting large-scale tournaments in the past, including the PGA Tour's Fries.com Open and Pro-Ams for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, gives it a leg up.
I think there's a chance for us to turn this into the kind of event that it'd be hard to take away. We view the NCAA championships as one of the misunderstood fun things to watch on TV and fun things to come be a part of.
Arizona State Athletic Director Ray Anderson said the two parties came together after the NCAA and the Golf Channel approached Greg Trias. Trias then brought it to Arizona State so that they could put together a special opportunity to host the NCAA Golf Championships here at Greyhawk Golf Course.
Part of the discussion was how do we do something different and unique that will help Golf Channel produce a event with some continuity and consistency of quality. And so this is the first time that a university and a private club got together to present a multi-year venue opportunity to the NCAA.
Anderson said that Arizona State has ambitions to host NCAA championships outside of golf. He said at some point the school hopes to bring the NCAA hockey championships, wrestling championships, and even tennis championships to Tempe. Greg McAfee, Cronkite News.
The biggest worldwide event for Paralympic athletes takes place in London next month. Cronkite News Los Angeles reporter Andy Kraus met athlete Scout Bassett, who will be competing in the 100-meter run and long jump.
World-class athletes and stories of personal triumph abound at the U.S. Paralympics Track and Field National Championships. One of the most striking is the one that belongs to 4'9" sprinter and long jumper Scout Bassett.
When I was an infant, I was involved in a fire, and that's how I lost my right leg. This took place in Nanjing, China, and shortly after that I was left on the street and later found and grew up in an orphanage for 7 years.
Bassett didn't even take her first steps until she was 6 years old, when she received a makeshift prosthesis constructed primarily of leather belt straps and masking tape. She was adopted by an American couple from Michigan a year later and ran for the first time when she was 14.
It was one of the hardest days of my life because up to that point, I was a very shy, reclusive, timid young girl, and I was really ashamed to be an amputee. And so I always wore pants and hid my prosthetic. So to get over that barrier was such a huge moment for me, and I realized that when I was out there running, I didn't feel disabled. I didn't feel like an amputee.
An even bigger revelation came during her sophomore year at UCLA when she discovered the Paralympics.
I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be the best, I want to compete with the very best, and I want to show the world what I'm made of.
She has broken the American record multiple times, the world record. I mean, we've gone to Rio, and the Olympics.
And her influence extends far beyond the track. Bassett has been a spokeswoman for the Challenged Athletes Foundation for almost 10 years and works with younger disabled athletes to help them realize their full potential.
We're going to remember her days on the track, but we're going to really remember what she did as a humanitarian and what she does in life, beyond the track world.
Bassett will compete in the Paralympic World Championships in London next month after taking home the gold medal in the 100-meter dash at the U.S. Nationals. She hopes to continue her quest for her first Olympic medal at the 2020 Games in Tokyo.
That was Andy Kraus reporting from our Los Angeles bureau. Scout travels all over the world competing and has been able to carve out a career as a full-time athlete and goodwill ambassador.